Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Alison McConnell here with us to talk football, and certainly on the evidence of last night, lots to talk about. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you get a chance. We'd love to hear what you've got to say on a regular basis. Join the football family. It's uncensored, unbiased, unmatched, and of course it's absolutely free to watch. Scotland's #1 football channel. Thank you to so many of you for supporting us throughout the season. The figures are in. It's absolutely fantastic, the return we're getting and what you're consuming across our YouTube and our social media channels. Here's the quiz question for you, with obviously Dundee United in mind. Name the last year Dundee United were relegated from the Scottish Premiership. If you think you know that, put it in the feed. We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. So there's your quiz question. Lots of things to talk about, lots of people to say hello to and give a very special mention to. Let's start by wishing Tas Thistle all the very best. The young boys are going to Barcelona to play in a tournament, and we hope that all those young lads enjoy themselves and win the tournament. I think that would be great.
It's fantastic. I think a lot of teams are now going abroad. It used to be Easter, they used to go over to Holland and places like that, and then 9 times out of 10 they come back with trophies. So yep, let's hope they do the same.
Yeah, and little Romano is looking forward to playing and hopefully being part of a winning team, Alison. Nothing better than getting the celebrities like yourself to wish them the very best.
Indeed, I hope they go and have a fabulous time. It's a great experience, I think, going and seeing a new culture, a new way of playing, and just a bit of camaraderie too within the team, and a few laughs along the way, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, well done. Good luck to Tas and good luck to Romano and all the boys. Kenny's in LA. He says, what a crazy season for the Dandies. He's a big Aberdeen fan. Robson and Agnew have done a marvellous job. Roos has been the best keeper by far this season. Good on you, Ruffy, he said, for suggesting that. But he says, by the way, Ruffy, you were way off finishing, suggesting Hearts were going to finish third by some 12 points. So Kenny kind of cuddled you and then hit you with a right hook. We make half a dozen brilliant signings, and Uncle Dave bringing in Burrows was a master stroke. He hopes Celtic win the cup, and he says, Peter, before you start continually going on about how bad Scottish teams do in Europe, please let us enjoy it for a week or so. And he says the refereeing has been horrible, the worst in years. Okay, Kenny's a sensible boy. Can't argue with him.
there's lots there to agree with. I think it's been an odd season for Aberdeen when you look at where they are and where they were, and the fact that they managed to claw back. I think at one point the deficit between them and Hearts was 11 points. To claw it back and take that third place finish, I think none of them would have envisaged it, particularly in the aftermath of that Darvel result, when there was a real doom around the club, one of the biggest upsets I think in Scottish Cup history. So I think to recover ground and get to where they were would speak volumes of the job that Barry Robson done.
Yeah, we'll talk about Aberdeen shortly. Jan the Staggy, what a night at Vicky Park. What a comeback from the team, only to lose cruelly again in injury time. I blame Ruffy, says Jan. He must forthwith cease and desist from backing us. He must predict that we'll be slaughtered by Kilmarnock, and even then I'll have to keep praying. There's some excitement with it going down to the wire. She says, if I was a neutral in this dog fight, but I'm not, and all my weekends are in shreds. So that's it. And she says, thank God for the show. It's on non-stop. We thoroughly enjoy it. So Jan, we've mentioned you on more than a few occasions, and thank you for your support like so many others. And of course, talking of support, the SPFL has hailed supporters for breaking that record we were talking about. Now 3.7 million over there have attended the games this season, the highest for the league in the 10-year history of this new structured SPFL, and it will obviously increase again with the weekend's games.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think Rangers and Celtic obviously support that largely, but you have to say, since Aberdeen got their act together, Hibs get their act together, Hearts get their act together, they're big contributors as well. It's great to see Aberdeen, Hibs and Hearts, 16,000 every home game. Obviously Rangers and Celtic pack their home games as well, but certainly it's been a great, really exciting season. I think we've all had supporters have something to go and see, whether it's first and second, third, fourth or fifth, and even the split.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a couple of little things before we start talking about the games, which I have to mention. And one of them is James Forrest, testimonial. He's going to play against Athletic Bilbao, 20 years with the club. It's been absolutely incredible. And I think this year of all years, when you look at Alan McGregor getting a testimonial, I couldn't think of a more fitting person for his contribution to Rangers. And on the flip side here, James Forrest at Celtic. I mean, I think there's only a couple of people, Bobby Lennox, maybe Scott Brown, have got more medals than him for Celtic.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's been a tremendous player for Celtic. I think very underrated at times. I think there were moments where he seemed to be one of the whipping boys. I think he can be incredibly proud of his contribution. I think particularly when you look back at the importance of some of the goals, especially Champions League goals, qualifying goals, he's come up at times with very, very important goals, particularly in cup games too, domestic cup games. I think he's been tremendously underrated. Obviously not played a big part this season under Ange Postecoglou, but I would think he still has something to offer Celtic.
Yeah, let's not forget also one man who had a whole barrel load of medals up there with Bobby Lennox and Scott Brown, Billy McNeil. And on this day, Ruffy, as I asked you yesterday about Rangers winning the Cup Winners' Cup, I wonder what happened today on the 25th of May.
Well, you told me what happened on the 25th of May. It was obviously the European Cup final, and a memory for all Celtic supporters, as it is with Rangers. You know, it's something, when you achieve something like that, being the first to do it, you know, it's just etched everywhere, and if you go to the club, it's everywhere to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely incredible that team were in the final in 1967 and beat the famous Inter Milan, who were a formidable opposition, and under Helenio Herrera, very much defensive, but Celtic's all-out attack. If you ever get a chance to see that game in full and see the stats from it, if Sky Sports were about then for the stats, it's possibly one of the most one-sided European Cup finals of all time. So absolutely tremendous. And a little footnote to that, which quite a lot of people would be amazed at, on this, in that same year, Rangers were in the Cup Winners' Cup final. That's how strong Scottish football was. Yeah,
I think just the world's a very different place now in terms of the disparity within football revenue and resources, and what you see now is the top 5 leagues with a very firm grip on the finances that surround football, and I think the disparity makes it very difficult to bridge that chasm in a way that just wasn't there. Football was much more, there was more of an equaliser back then in terms of an even ground. It's almost, I don't think you can possibly envisage Scottish teams getting to that stage again, and I know Rangers done it last.
Adopt that Hugh Keevins attitude.
Rangers
said
done
that
it
in 2000
last season, and Celtic got to Seville, obviously. But these are real aberrations. I think.
But what about a Saudi Arabian billionaire who has always supported Rangers all his life, or a Saudi Arabian of Irish descent billionaire who's always supported Celtic? Is that feasible, Ali?
Not in this world. No.
Okay then.
Everybody talks about that game, about Gemmell's goal, and obviously Stevie Chalmers' goal. One of the highlights was Ronnie Simpson's back heel. I think that's incredible.
It's just
in
outrageous,
a European Cup final, never to be seen.
The other thing though too as well is Celtic and Rangers in the modern era have got to the Europa League final and the UEFA Cup final, but getting to Champions League final is something that I just don't think you could possibly envisage for a Scottish team again.
Certainly not in Ruffy's lifetime. Anyway, let's crack on. We're now on to some of the things that happened. I think we're going to talk about them. Give us your thoughts on last night's football. Absolutely incredible. We'll give you it as honest and as fair-minded as we possibly can, as we have done for 10 years since Ruffy and I started this, and then brought Hugh McDonald in just to keep me sane. And then we've just added the cast over the 10 years. And how long have you been here now, Ali?
4 years, I think.
4 years, and a great signing too. And a big hello to everybody who supports the programme. Some people like it, some people don't, Ruffy. We always like to say to people, if you want unbiased, unmatched coverage of the Scottish game, then we're here for you. If you want propaganda and you want all your stuff about your team's great, never makes mistakes, not open to criticism, then we say to them, go to the fanzines, go to all these forums. We welcome that. On you go.
Yeah, I think anybody who watches the show most of the time regularly will know that we give an opinion. I mean, you might not like it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But at least it's what we think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what I think right now. If I was a footballer, possibly in the 80s or 90s, because the world has changed, Ali, I would probably have taken the Dundee United back four into a room and started a full-scale fight. The boy Aina, if Jim Goodwin had a game plan at the start of that match to somehow get Dundee United to win, then the centre-back Aina blew it right out of the water. He comes out of the back line, tries to dribble with the ball on the edge of the box, gives it away, and Vassell batters one into the bottom corner of the net. I mean, I looked at it and I thought to myself, get rid of it, launch it, clear it, dribbles, loses possession. Jim Goodwin must have just went into the dugout and thumped his head off the metal.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And the other aspect is, I think when you're frail like that, when you're in the position that Dundee United are, I think losing that goal and losing it early on, I think there was no way back. I think there's just the mentality within that dressing room and what's gone on for the 9 months that have gone before. I didn't think that they would have it in them to mount a comeback and get themselves out of it. I think that has been Dundee United's season in microcosm. That defending has undermined their campaign from the get-go. But I think if you've gone through 3 managers in one season and you're finding yourself still looking now at relegation going into the last game of the term, I think it points to much bigger issues and issues that run through the entirety of the club.
Yeah, Ruffy, it needs a clear out. They were absolutely rank rotten. I watched the entire game and I thought to myself, really? Really? Is this what United fans have got to watch?
See, initially the boy you're talking about, I know it was completely wrong what he did, but it was a bit of skill, the first 2 bits. I know it looked, if he'd just done what he did and then launched it, it'd been great, but at the end of the day, you forget about the bit of skill he had because he's cost his team the game. And there'll be people in there, shaking in their boots when you think of the Dundee United defence of old. Paul Hegarty, David Neary, Morris Malpass, and there was a wee Holt, wee boy Holt at fullback.
John Holt.
That would
Capel,
never have
Richard
happened.
Gough.
Never have happened in
Not a
a
chance.
million years.
It was dreadful. I mean, it was absolutely dreadful. And at that point, I'm thinking, now they have to go and try and get back into the game. They're not capable of that because only Fletcher is a menace. And even then, Stephen Fletcher's past his sell-by date. But he's better than what they've got. But they couldn't pick a pass. And when the ball was coming out of the back line, Ali, there was at least 40 yards between the back line and any midfielder who wanted to come and get it. So there was no chance of them doing anything. And now, lose the game 3-0. Jim Goodwin and Dundee United fans just looking and thinking, well, you're heading down to the Championship. It's going to take a miracle. And I don't even think Jim Goodwin believes that can happen.
Listen, we're going to go to Motherwell on Sunday and we're going to give it our best shot, but we're not, I'm the biggest optimist there is out there, and always try and be positive and believe that the impossible can sometimes happen, but of course, I think it's an 8 or a 9 goal difference at the moment. It would mean that we're going to have to go to Motherwell and score a hell of a lot of goals and hope that Kilmarnock hammer Ross County. So look, the likelihood of that happening is obviously very slim.
Jim Goodwin would like to stay on. I don't think Jim Goodwin's the problem. I think the whole United structure, the board's the problem. It's clueless, it's rudderless, doesn't know what it's doing. There's no strategy. Certainly the people who decided on the recruitment have got absolutely no strategy, and the financial situation at Dundee United, precarious to say the least.
Yeah, I said, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was listening to the Craig Levein interview, and I think the proof was in the pudding there when somebody bluntly asked him, did you have an interview with Dundee United? And he went, yes, I did have an interview with Dundee United, and they said to him, well, why didn't you go there? I think you'd be very welcome, the supporters like you. And he said, I didn't like what I was hearing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that for me sums it up. For somebody like Craig Levein, who would have probably loved to went to Dundee, there's something up there behind the scenes is not right. And I think we're about to find out now that they went into the Championship. I think there'll be an exodus of players. I think there'll be extremely cutbacks. And I wouldn't be surprised if they post some almighty loss that we've never seen before.
Well, I'm looking at them and they came up against a Kilmarnock side who were clearly up for it. And you know, sometimes, Ali, when you watch a game and somebody does something and you actually jump out of your seat. And there was a moment when Kyle Vassell flicked the ball up onto his thigh, and then from his thigh leathered it from the halfway line, spotted the keeper off his line, and I'm thinking, whoa, and the keeper gets back and touches it over the bar. What a I mean, if it would have been goal of the season.
I think it just sums up as well, Kilmarnock side that have still got a bit of confidence about them, particularly him. I think he's been key to just, if they stay up, I think he'll be one of the pivotal players that have managed to keep them in the top flight. But I think it pointed to a Kilmarnock side last night that weren't inhibited by the situation, that went out, took the game by the scruff of the neck, and had an aggressive approach, knowing that they were wanting to come away with the win.
Yeah, of course, still a wee bit to be done according to the Killie boss, Derek McInnes.
3 points, still what to do, so we're conscious nobody's over celebrating or getting too ahead of ourselves. But I think it's important that we try and enjoy the moment. You know, I think supporters come up in huge numbers tonight, and it's great to send them home. Probably feeling a lot more optimistic about things, but we've still got a tough game to navigate. You know, you're up against a team who will be coming. It's clear that a win, it's all or nothing.
I can't quite work out why Killie found themselves in this predicament at times.
Away.
Yeah, I mean, I know the away form's dreadful, but even away from home, you know, the manager has to carry the can for some aspects of it, but at times the team play good football.
Yeah, they do, but I think once they go into that run of away games and not winning any, you know, every time you go away, if you're a player, the confidence is not there you're expecting. If you go a goal behind, you're not going to turn it round, and it just got worse and worse and worse as the season went on. Fortunately, they were winning some of their home games, but as soon as the split came and I saw they had 3 games at home and 2 away against the teams that they know they can beat, there was always going to be a chance for them, and obviously Dundee United were an ideal opportunity, but I think Ross County will make them go for it all the way on Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Ross County. If you are just joining us, or if you are watching us on the live on YouTube, thank you very much for supporting us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and of course if you hit the bell, you get all the notifications of our unique video content, and if you download the app, you'll get not only the breaking news, but you can get all the video content at your fingertips as well. And as you can see, every now and then when the sun comes out, Ruffy gets the shorts on, and Ali brings out the optimistic yellow and green bright summery stuff, you know. Whereas usually if it's belting with rain, we're all dressed in black and not optimistic. Ali, you definitely need a holiday, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Brevity, that's the way ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Well, in a minute when you start arguing with Ruffy. Ross County 3, St Johnstone 3. I mean, honestly, if ever I'm gutted for a side, it's Ross County. Was it a penalty? Was it a soft penalty, Ruffy?
Soft penalty again. Yeah. It's that handball. And I think Ross County will be hurting badly, particularly what happened at the weekend with the penalty that they got and then never got. You know, and if you look at that incident, you look at a couple of the incidents for last night, that could have been 4 points. You know, for Saturday and last night, 4 points would have taken the pressure off them going there and having to get a win at Kilmarnock. And Malcolm Mackay will have to work overtime to lift these players up, to make them believe that they can go to Rugby Park and get a win, because they'll be on a wee bit of a downer.
Well, I'm not so sure. Malcolm Mackay is very optimistic.
I look at is the spirit to actually go and give everything they've got here today, which was fantastic in terms of how they played near the end. The whole second half, the way they fought and pressed and pushed to go ahead, gives me great hope in terms of this group of players. It's what I already know, but our fans hope to see that tonight.
Stevie May scored a double. Stephen McLean, interim boss, could get it on a permanent basis. Yeah,
it looks like it. It looks as though it's going that way. I think there was a kind of rocky part again. It looked as though they could possibly be dragged back into it, but I think he settled things, got them back up onto fairly level ground. But they're another club that I think this season have just frustrated so much at times. St Johnstone, I think they struggle with goals. They just have looked so toothless at times in the final third. But when you look at the squad, I think you should be getting more out of them.
Yeah, of course, Stephen McLean, I think he's well aware of what it's like to try and fight off relegation, and he's got a fair bit of sympathy for the teams that are involved in it now.
Credit to Ross County for keep going to the end, and good luck to the 3 teams that are involved in the relegation fight. We've been there before and it's not nice, so I wish the 3 teams the best of luck. Looking forward to Livingston. We want to win the game, we want to finish the season on a high. We want to win in front of our own fans, and we want to go and be positive.
Yeah, absolutely. St Johnstone, in the end, Ruffy, had a wee bit to spare, as I thought they would have.
Yeah, I think the encouragement, and Ali touched on there now, that certain players came back, and the certain players are the 2 strikers, Clark and May. They started scoring goals. They weren't scoring goals for a wee while. I know they were injured for a couple of games, but goal scorers will save you at this specific moment in time, and that's what's happened at St Johnstone.
Yep, absolutely. Good luck to Stephen McLean in his position as manager. What about up there at Pittodrie? You made the long journey up there. Did you drive up?
Yes.
No wonder you're a wee bit narky today, Ali, then. The sun was splitting the trees up there.
It was a beautiful night. Actually, it was a nice drive. It was a good game. I thought Aberdeen started well. It was a bit harried to begin with, but once he got that going, a beautiful free kick from Leighton Clarkson. I think that's 6 goals this season. I think he's had a good, strong campaign for Aberdeen. Interested to see what happens now with him, if he goes back to Liverpool or if Aberdeen try and keep him for another season. But beautiful free kick. And I think from there on, Aberdeen took a grip of the game, and then Shinnie getting the 2 goals on either side of of half time took them well. And I think he's been a good signing for them too since going back. I think it was clever to give him the armband when they gave him it. I think there was maybe some criticism about that, given the fact he's a lone player. Whether or not, again, there's big questions whether they can keep him from Wigan on a permanent basis now next season. But I think the way he's performed,
I think that's on the cards.
Yeah, I think so. I think it will just come down to finances, obviously, between the 2 clubs. But I think Wigan will probably be quite keen for him to go to Aberdeen, and I think he himself will be keen to go up there again.
Well, always helps when Wigan are in quite a lot of debt, trying to get people off the wage. I have to say the Thierry Small tackle was a really bad tackle.
It was a shocker.
Worthy of a red card.
Yeah, it was a shocker.
Miofsky's out for the rest of the season.
Clearly out for the rest of the season. I think it's not a break. Barry Robson came in and said he'd had an X-ray immediately. However, I think the suspicion is that it'll be ligament damage that he sustained, and it looks as though he'll be out World Cup qualifiers too, which will be disappointing for the player himself. I think he's had a good campaign too overall, and I think when it's ligament damage, you're never quite sure how long it is before you're back up and running, and then it's a very short time before you're straight back into pre-season nowadays. It's very, you maybe get a month off or so he'll not be wanting to miss out on a strong pre-season under his belt.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Celtic win the Scottish Cup, Aberdeen will be guaranteed group stage European football, at least $4 million. What a bonus that is for them. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great that we've seen how some of our teams under Rangers and Celtic fail in the qualifying stages, when they come up against sort of minnows, they don't particularly do well, but to get right into a group stage is a bonus. They don't have to suffer that failure. In Aberdeen, I think they used to get beat with teams from Malta and all over the place. So no, it's good to get in there, and if they get a good draw, it'll be exciting for the supporters.
Yeah, remember we've got a week where we've got to stop talking about Kenny's in LA worrying about us dissing some of the Scottish clubs who are dismal in European football. So fingers crossed Aberdeen buy a good few players. Could they get Leighton Clarkson? Ali was raving about him, so was Barry Robson.
He's got that quality that he can do that, and when it's like, he gives you that feeling when a player puts the ball down, you think this could be a goal. I've played with a lot and worked with a lot when they put a ball down, I think this is not going to be a goal. But he's definitely got that feeling about him.
Yeah, if we could get him, that would be magic. But sometimes if you score a free kick at that end, bend it over the top of the wall, you then go on to play for Leicester. That's all I'm saying to you. It's the exact same position where James Maddison scored.
The boy spoke about that earlier in the season, about watching how successful Maddison's loan spell was and his free kicks at times when he was up at Aberdeen, and trying to emulate that kind of set piece quality. But I think he's an exciting young player. I think he's had a good season at Aberdeen. Interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah, as I'm going through all the stuff and some of the stories that obviously have dominated the headlines, Ruffy, one that caught my eye, which is not a good story, because I was with him last week, the Aberdeen Gothenburg legend Dougie Bell suffered a suspected heart attack, and he's had 2 stents inserted in his arteries. He's only 63, Dougie. I was chatting to him. It was great. He had a book out. He was in here. He was talking about his time there, and I was up at the Gothenburg Greats dinner hosting it, and I have to tell you, when he come on the stage, they absolutely love him up there. A skillful player, brilliant midfielder, and you know, that is a real blow. That caught me on the hop today.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of playing with Dougie at Hibs. Dougie came to Hibs latter in his career, you know, bags of energy. Oh, fittest guy I've ever seen in a training park. Anybody who's trained with Dougie will know he gives it 100%, you know, and I mean, that's a shock to me as well. One of the fittest guys I'd seen, you know, and I've got 2 missing teeth thanks to Dougie.
Yeah.
They were doing an exercise at Hibs and there were players short, so I had to team up with Dougie, you know, and it was just dribbling across the park and you had to try and get the ball off him. And anybody knows who's Dougie, his elbows are out here. And then
Yes.
you try to get round him and I got whacked. Ended up in the dentist.
Well, I've got an even better story, Ruffy, because I played regularly with him at Dukla Pumperson, and he was fantastic, right? But before I played with him, I played against him, and maybe somebody had put in his mind that I was a noise up, and after 24 seconds of the referee blowing his whistle, he had raked all 6 of his studs down my knee, to which prompted 90 minutes of me and him kicking lumps out of each other.
We had another Dougie Bell story as he just joined us. It was his first day at training. We used to train over at Fettes College. We had a minibus that all the first team went in and the reserves went in. We went over to Fettes College. It was a rain in the day. Rain was bucketing down, so obviously we had to go back in the bus back to the Easter Road to get showered and everything. Experienced boys were all down the front, me, Jackie McNamara, Ralphie, wee Bobby, and we're sitting there, the young boys are up the back having a carry on, obviously taking the mud off their boot and chipping it a boot. Chipping it a boot. Unfortunately, one of the bits of boot mud hit Dougie and he turned around and he went, "Who threw that?" One of the young boys will never throw mud in a bus ever again. Just went up and stiffened them.
I have to say, he's one of the nicest guys you could ever
he's not
meet.
like that at all. Just when he goes on the park,
he's brilliant. He played Aberdeen, Hibs, Rangers. He's just a fabulous player, and what a collection. And I think the other great thing about Dougie in the last few weeks, when I was chatting to him up in Aberdeen and we're having a laugh, he was so pleased that Aberdeen had managed to get the 6 medals awarded to the people who should have got them. Dougie Bell should have played in the final, picked up an injury, played in the Super Cup, wonderful player. He got a medal. I think Ian Donald's family, for Dick Donald, got a medal, and also Sir Alex, Archie Knox. So there was a lot of the families that really, Teddy Scott's family, they all got a medal for the European Cup Winners' Cup of '83.
Yeah, I think it's only fitting. I think when you look at the contribution over the course of the campaign to get them there, I think it makes sense, and I think it's nice to be told that you had a place in that success and to be celebrated as such.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to
We're
Dougie.
talking, unfortunately, we don't like talking about players who are time. Can we mention Jerry Collins? Went to see Jerry Collins yesterday. Jerry had a wee health scare. He'd had an operation. Went to see him the other day. He's in recovery and very positive. So good luck to Jerry. I'm sure all the boys over there. Tony Roper goes in and sees him quite a lot. So very positive and everything, and it was great to see him.
Yeah, absolutely. I regularly see Jerry at the St Margaret of Scotland Hospice fundraising dinner, so brilliant. I think from everybody in the football show, we wish Jerry a speedy recovery. As far as the game with the St Mirren and Aberdeen up at Pittodrie, Saints so close, but yet so far didn't quite get the end result of European football they were looking for.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be quite a tough challenge for them, and their ambition was obviously to go and finish in the top 6. They've done that. First St Mirren team to go and achieve that in the new format. But with that, it's a double-edged sword, because you know then that the final games and your running are pretty difficult where you've got to go. But I think they'll take a lot of heart out of how they've played this season. They've competed, went to Celtic and got a draw again. They've beaten Celtic this season. I think they've competed very well. I think they'll hope to maybe hang on to the nucleus of that squad and add maybe just 1 or 2 extras that could supplement them, because I think once you've got yourself into that position, you want to consolidate it, you want to make sure you're there, you don't want to be fighting relegation or anything like that next season. I think you'd want to kick on now.
Well, no surprise for the efforts of all the season. The manager, Stephen Robinson, was quick to praise him at the end of the game.
And would love to see the stadium full and give the players their appreciation for what's been a historic season, really, for us. We weren't quite able to collectively to finish it off with Europe. We've showed we're not far away in the games against Celtic and Hearts and Hibs, but we just weren't quite there. But I think that, as I say, the appreciation should be shown to the players for what I believe is a very good season.
I think he's underselling it. A great season for St Mirren, brilliant, and he's a manager that is thought very highly of at the Smeetsa Stadium, and everybody connected with St Mirren. Well done to them. Well done to the Hibbies, because if everybody, pundits, journalists, you name it, they've all had their say on Lee Johnson. Should be sacked, close to getting sacked, never gets 5 transfer windows. I think this is transfer window number 4 coming up. Ruffy, he might get his wish.
Yeah,
he beat Celtic last night.
Yeah, he's turned it around, there's no doubt about that. That there was a moment, when the fans had turned a wee bit, but like all good managers, they get the right result at the right time, to get them back on board, and since then, they've got good results, and that one last night, would prove that. But again, Celtic, really disappointing. The players that we used to talk about during the season who sat on the bench and they'd come on for maybe 20, 25 minutes, and you would go, that's a right good bench for coming on 20, 25 minutes. It's not a right good bench when you're asking them to do 90 minutes. And I think Ange will be seriously looking at a few of them going, I think you need to move on, because you're not up to the quality that I'm looking for.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Ange Postecoglou highlighted the fact that he has made quite a lot of changes.
We love to live in the moment, and everyone's sort of making sort of assessments on what's happening right now. That's fine. Look, most of it's on me, to be honest. I mean, I'm the one making 5 or 6 line-up changes every week, and that's hurting the side, there's no doubt about that, but I'm doing it for a reason, and that's affected our level of performance. Although, like I said, I thought tonight, up until sending off, I thought we were in a good position.
Got a man sent off, Maeda. Was he worthy of it?
Yeah, I think 2 very similar offences. I thought both were yellow card offences.
What about Doyle Hayes?
Yeah, that was to come on and then to have it overturned again.
I think the way he was coming across him may well have influenced the referee to have a look at it. Because when it was at full speed, you're thinking, whoa, he's taking him out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think then when you slow it down and look at it back in, and to be fair, this is what we wanted it for. This is why we wanted referees to be able to have a second look and make sure they were coming to the right decision. So yeah, I can see why it was rescinded. Yeah,
fair play to Hibs. They took full advantage of it. But you're a goalkeeper. Come on.
There's no way he can hold it. He's got to hold his hands up and that.
Yeah. Did the ball move?
It moves a wee bit, but he's just taking his eye off it. It's an easy catch for him.
He knows himself. You see him, he's squirming. He's absolutely.
It's coming right to his hand, and he's probably thinking about what he's going to do with it once he's caught it. And it's just one of these things. It happens. Yeah. It happens to everybody.
What about the header though? Took a deflection.
Yeah, he was at fault for that as
well.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Thank God you're not sitting next to him on the bus back. Yeah, you would have absolutely blown his confidence completely if it wasn't already shattered. But fair play to Hibs, because I think sometimes when Celtic or Rangers lose matches, you forget about the quality that Hibs displayed on the night, because they have taken that battle for 4th down to the wire. Our man Adam Binney was out there at the training centre today.
Thanks, Peter. I'm at the Hibs training centre this afternoon to speak to manager Lee Johnson about the big one on Saturday. It's the Edinburgh derby, and as far as this fixture goes, it doesn't get quite much bigger than this. 2 points separate the two sides. Hearts currently in 4th, 2 points ahead, but a win for Hibs could see them leapfrog them and take that 4th position on the final day of the season. But why is that important? Of course, 4th position guarantees Europa Conference League qualification spot for the upcoming summer. 5th place would still rely on Celtic to win the Scottish Cup against Inverness, thus taking the Europa qualification out of their own hands. But speaking to Lee Johnson, he insists that a 5th place finish could actually still be a successful season.
Europe is important, so 5th with Europe I think is success. 5th without Europe I'll be disappointed with, and obviously we've got an opportunity to have the potential of Europe and it be in our own hands, where we haven't got that in 5th, so I think that's the key factor here.
He also spoke to full-back Lewis Miller, who has spent the majority of the season sidelined through injury, and he was telling us what this win would mean both for the club and for himself.
Oh, unreal. Obviously that's what everyone's talking about, that's what we're all excited about. So we get this win against Hearts, not only will it be this Edinburgh will be green, but we'll also secure European football, which will be unreal. Coming from a boy from Australia, unheard of, so very happy, yeah.
Yeah, it would be fantastic, and it's all down to, I mean, if you'd said to the Hibs fans, okay, last game of the season, Tynecastle, Hearts, Edinburgh Derby, you know, it's up for grabs. If you get a chance, if you win it, you're over the top of them and you're into 4th place, you'd bite your hand off, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. It'd be a great day for everybody there. I mean, obviously a Hibs Hearts game is always well up there, but with everything that's at stake, it's even more. I really hope the game goes 90 minutes without any trouble. No VAR, handballs, anything like that. I hope it's won in merit, because the two of them are a joy to watch when that stadium's full. So let's hope we're talking about the football, nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust you to put a dampener on it, by the way. I'm thinking about the excitement of it all. It's on a Saturday. It's an Edinburgh Derby. It's that Tynecastle. Hearts Hibs doesn't get any better. I'm going. Yeah, and it's not even just the fact that you're closing the campaign with an exciting game with the Derby. It's the fact that there's so much at stake with it. I think for a while at this point in the season, I think Hearts were quite keen to laud just where they were and laud the gap that was between the two teams. I think Edinburgh might be a different city on Saturday night if Hibs were to win at Tynecastle. Yeah, you ever been to an Edinburgh Derby, Ruffy?
Obviously to watch it. I've been to 16 of them.
Yeah. But have you been to see one? Have you been to see one? I mean, I think that's a disgrace. That
I've been to Easter Road, yeah. I think I was invited to Easter Road when I got into the Hibs Hall of Fame. That day it was a Hibs Hearts game and I was there. Yeah, I didn't want you to go through all the things that you've won again. I just wanted to know if you'd been to an Edinburgh Derby. So I think from that point of view, it's all up for grabs. 2 points behind, a win over Hearts, and they'll get into 4th, and that would be a huge shot in the arm financially for both clubs. I have my gut feeling on this that it's advantage Hearts though. Yeah, I think so. I think 1, it's at Tynecastle, which is an enormous advantage, and 2, I think they'll be encouraged just by the way that they've played of late. They won over Aberdeen, the point at Ibrox last night. I think what you've seen is a bit of aggression about Hearts, and Stevie Naismith took over. I think if you were to push me for a prediction, I'd probably be more inclined to go with Hearts. Yeah, I'd like to see Stevie Naismith get the job on a full-time basis with maybe a wee bit of experience in there as well to help him. And I'm not suggesting Craig Levein at all. I think those days are gone. I think it's got to be someone with a fresh approach who has his ideas, can back them up with a wee bit of experience. But Stevie Naismith, he'll not be caring that there were scrappy goals that they got last night, but they got them and they got the draw. Well, they certainly got them. I would be having sleepless nights over the 2 goals they lost. Absolutely, I don't know what the guy was trying to do for the first one. Yeah. But did he slip or something? Or was he just trying to header the ball on the ground? Yeah. Did he slip? Was that him? Toby Sibic. Yeah. I think it was a strange attempt at a headed clearance, and it just didn't quite work out. Header 6 inches off the ground. Yeah, it was a strange one. And even the second one, what was he trying to do? Sort of keep it up, and when they head it back to the goalkeeper, I don't know what he tried to do. Yeah. But no, that was the disappointing side of it. But they kept battling till the end, and the wee boy that we kept told when he came here from Newcastle he was going to be unbelievable. We haven't seen that, so this might be the wee spark for him, and it might be at the weekend. But no, I got a funny feeling Stephen's going to get that job. I think the way you're looking at the boy McLean getting the St Johnstone job, I don't think there's a lot of money to be thrown about and going and getting a manager and paying compensation. So I think Stevie has got the experience in there, obviously as a player and obviously being with the Scotland squad, I think if there was a phone call, as there usually is, to experienced people, like Stevie Clark, why did you bring him into the Scotland squad? This is what I saw in him, this is what I think. And I think these kind of things will go well for him. And he talks very well after the game, and I think the players will enjoy his training. So, funnily enough, there's no names getting thrown about here. There usually be 4 or 5 names, going, he's available, I'm available, I want it, but there's not, so I think he might get it.
Yeah, William Smith says, I thought he was doing a press-up, Peter, when he tried to get that clearance. Hugh Scott, I think, actually makes a point that I was just about to make, which I think is good. Peter, I think James Hill slipped for the first, tried to do an Andy Gray header off the ground, but it was a good finish from Todd Cantwell, and that's the point I was about to make. He is... he's going to be, I think next season he's going to be a real fan's favourite, Ali. I like him, I like what he does, I think they like the fact that he's direct as well.
Yeah, I think he's got something about him. I think he's shown that across the last couple of months. I think there's a bit of aggression about him too, but I think he's busy, he's energetic. I think he's brought a freshness to that midfield, and also he carries a goal threat, and I think you're right. I think next season you're going to see a very different looking Rangers side, but I would expect him and Raskin to have a fairly big role in there.
Quite a few players obviously get the chance to wave to the Rangers fans and say goodbye to them. I think Alfredo Morelos, one of those players who just waved along with a few other players who clearly, I think the Rangers fans appreciate the contribution. Scotty Arfield, another man who scores some crucial goals, and he's signing off as well as Morelos, as well as Scott Arfield. Alan McGregor, I think over the piece of all the players that were leaving, I think Alan McGregor's contribution has been immense. I mean, for me, he's been one of the best goalkeepers in Scotland over the last 20 years. Obviously he had a little sabbatical away, but McGregor's contribution for me is phenomenal. Yeah,
I think so. I would agree with you. I think he's been a huge player for Rangers even last season in the European run and everything. Now, yeah, I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. Played at the very highest level. I do think though that the time is right for him to go. I think sometimes when you have a player who's contributed so much, there's an element of sentiment when it comes to maybe offering another season or so, but I think it's the right time for him to move on.
Yeah, I noticed that Michael Beale, again, just at the end of the game, decided to back Todd Cantwell because I think Chris Sutton had said he's going down too easy and the referees will soon cotton on to him. Michael Beale was having none of that, and again defended his player.
That was a blatant foul at the weekend, 2 hands in his chest. So for me, it's a blatant foul. Like anywhere else on the pitch is a foul. What's Todd going to fall over there for? And then it becomes a narrative around it. He's doing really well. I think people should just enjoy him while he's in our league. He's been in our league in a few months and he's shown lots of bright things again tonight. A fantastic goal. He's feisty. He wants to play the game with passion. He's everything that fans want. I think he's everything that people come to watch the game want. And we just got to be careful of that. We just got to be careful. Been down that road before with Alfredo, haven't we?
Yeah, okay. I don't think Michael Beale should bite on these things. I mean, at the end of the day, if pundits and journalists think, like some fans, whether somebody dives or not, it's just an opinion on it. Who cares? He's got a job to do. Just focus on it and let the player get on with it as well.
Yeah, as you
as long as the reputation doesn't start to get a bit silly. I mean, he's not been in our game long. I'm not looking at him and thinking he's a diver. Are you?
No. I think there's photographic evidence doing the rounds on social media today too. I think they were posting pictures of bruises. So I think when we get to that stage,
it's getting a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, even Ruffy's Fishman's leather does too, by the way. I mean, it's outrageous, Ali. Honestly, you cannot offer an opinion without somebody looking and thinking, I wonder where you were brought up. I wonder who you supported, At the end of the day, Ruffy, I think especially in this show, you've just got to rise above, what I call the people who could easily have had a part in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You've got to just try and offer an objective view on things. I think Cantwell is one of those players that we should be celebrating because, quite simply, he adds quality to this league.
Yeah, I think particularly last night at the goal, you know, he picked the ball up deep in his own half, continued the forward run, you know, and did a 1-2 and then went on and scored the goal, you know, and we want to see players like that in our league, you know, we want to see a bit of flair. We don't see it very often now, it's getting few and far between, but you're right, I think he's going to light up the season next year, so hope the Fishman's listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Can you tell the story? No. Oh, it'd be good.
No.
It'd be good if you could have told it, but nevertheless. Anyway, Ruffy's Fishman just leathered Ali and I, but let Ruffy off the hook. But that's the nature of it. We enjoy that sort of thing. He doesn't listen now anyway, so you're all right.
No, you're right.
Ruffy doesn't buy fish.
Yeah, exactly. Ruffy just going for a chippy now. Anyway, I think a lot of people saying, Iron Blue says, great to see the Rangers players and fans in total harmony. I thought
it was a good gesture last night, the 5 players coming out and going over to the supporters and being given the chance to say cheerio. There's a lot of players down through the years leave a club and it's maybe not a home game and it's an away game and they don't get a chance to say cheerio to the fans, so that was a good idea. Whoever thought that up to do it in the second last game of the season.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, I did watch James Bisgrove's interview with Chris Boyd on Sky Sports. If anything, the downside of it all is, I did mention, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Ali, the biggest job at Rangers, bigger than Michael Beale's job for me, is James Bisgrove and John Bennett. Find money, find ways to finance that club to try and get them close to Celtic. You can wax lyrical all you want about who's close, where the balance of power is, but Celtic are the champions. They've got 50 million in the bank. They're going into the group stages of the Champions League. James Bisgrove's biggest job is working out how to finance a manager to get the players that the manager wants of a certain quality. The downside of the whole interview, apart from obviously Chris Boyd was chatting to him, the downside was we're not going to get back to one stand full of away supporters.
Yeah, it was never happening. And this idea that they'll offer 700 or 800 tickets each piece, I just think it's not viable. It's what Celtic rejected when they were offered this for the last game at Ibrox. I think there are question marks it raises when there's such small numbers of getting supporters in safely, keeping them safe when they're in the ground and then getting them out again. I think it's never going to fly. I think if you're going to have supporters going into the other stadium, it's going to have to be about 7,000. It's going to have to be reverting back to what it was. And as we have discussed this before, I think there's a parochial element on each side that neither wants to be seen, to concede or to give in. I think it dilutes the game as a spectacle. I think there's no doubt about it. I think it takes away from some of the theatre of the occasion, but I don't think there's any chance that you'll see it coming back soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to turn on one of the home games that they've had and then turn on the semi-final at Hampden and see the difference.
Absolutely. It's a great spectacle. But again, and this is the great thing about time and history, I think, of course, we are in a kind of a strange, what I would call Trump era of the last 10 years where, you know, people are allowed to spout poison and people are allowed to get a platform of lunacy and unfortunately some boards have pandered to the lunatics across many clubs, not just Celtic and Rangers. But when they're looking back at history and they draw a line in the sand, not James Bisgrove, but certainly board members in both clubs and others, Hearts and Hibs, with you know, the reduction in the fans, the away fans coming to the grounds, the line in the sand and the history from people who've got a bit of guts to say it is quite simply, these people killed that game. It's as simple as that, and nothing they can spin to any fan that would listen to it will tell you otherwise. Normal thinking people will know they killed that game, Stonewall dead. As far as Hearts, we haven't spoken about them, deserve tremendous credit for last night, but Stephen Naismith pulled no punches on the fact that the Jambos should have been way clear in third.
The club were 11 points clear at one point. They shouldn't be in this position. So that is what it is. But we've tried to, or certainly since I've come in, we've tried to give ourselves as good a chance as we can. I think we have done that. But when you're relying on others, that's no way you want to be, especially at a club like Hearts. You don't want to be relying on others to get you in success.
I like Stevie's attitude. I hope he gets the job. Couple of players, 3 players in fact, that are leaving Hearts. Michael Smith, Gary Mackay-Steven and Ross Stewart. Peter Haring has signed a new 1-year deal to extend his stay.
Yeah, I think you want to hang on to players that have done a job for you while bringing in obviously some quality over the summer, but I think you want to keep the nucleus of a side. But I think there are issues around Hearts and just how they did fall apart. Stephen Naismith mentioned it there. Big question marks when you've lost an 11-point lead and lost the money that direct access to European football could bring.
Yeah, absolutely. Livingston won, Motherwell won. It was almost like an afterthought, Ruffy, because there's nothing really at stake other than points and a wee bit of financial, money at the end of it. For the more points you get, the higher you finish.
And waiting to see if Van Veen would score. We didn't have to wait very long. It just fell to him again, and he just dispatched it. And then, as we were talking about in the show the other day, there every other opportunity he got, he took by himself. He was shooting for anywhere, just to get them. I know. So no, good luck to him. It's good, and he'll be feeling really confident about himself for the next for the end of the season to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think fantastic for him. Scottish Premiership table. Let's have a look at it. Motherwell want to finish top of the bottom 6, and I think they're pretty close to that. Another win at the weekend will secure that for them because they're taking on Dundee United. What resistance will Dundee United offer? It's an absolute belter of a weekend. When you look at it there, I can't see Dundee United getting that 8-goal swing. Can you, Ali?
No, I don't. I wouldn't anticipate
an
8-goal swing on the last day of the season. No.
If they keep the back 4, I could see them maybe adding to their 8-goal negative, to be honest with you. Yeah, they're playing Motherwell on the Sunday. Kilmarnock against Ross County. That's going to be a humdinger of a game. And St Johnstone against Livingston, and on the Saturday there's Celtic against Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs and St Mirren Rangers. I'm really looking forward to going to that. We're on the Sunday. Hugh McDonald, who is a man who's committed and stays for the entire season, week in, week out, Ruffy, he'll be with me in the studio on Sunday.
I'm now wishing I was with you when I've seen the weather where I'm going.
Yeah.
So it's just a downhill.
I know. Where are you off to?
I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, but the other good thing about it is obviously you're away for a wee break.
To join him.
Well, absolutely. No, what I want it to do is I want it to absolutely belt down with rain so he has a rotten holiday, honestly. Yeah. Who takes a holiday in the middle of the season?
I know.
Oh, me. Anyway, 2 great days. Don't forget to keep it locked here to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and our social media, our website and our app. Right across our social media, we'll keep you up to date with all the reports as well. What about the predictor table? The predictor table. Alan Ruff, 322. Tam McManus and Peter Martin, 302. Alison McConnell, 288. Mid-table for Yali, 281 for Tam Cowan and 248 for Hugh McDonald. And I would suggest to you now, Ali, something that you're not aware of. The last 6 games, which you could get, if you get a correct score, it's 5 points. So there's 30 points up for grabs, but we've all agreed to double the points. There's 60 points up for grabs for the last game, the last weekend. So suddenly I could snatch it, Tam could snatch it. What a weekend it is for winning the trophy, and it's a big trophy, Ali.
Yeah, I've not given up the ghost just yet. 60 points to play for.
60 points.
Never know, it could be the best comeback of all time.
Yeah. The good news is, even if can Hugh win it with 60 points if he got all? No. I don't think he can actually. As I look at it, I don't. No, he probably wouldn't. 408 he would get.
This is turning into a Eurovision Song Contest.
Why?
Well, at the end of that, you can win about 500 points.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fantastic. Ruffy, it's going to be a good weekend for you. Thistle surely do the job, eh?
Yeah, I hope so. Obviously, I'll be a bit nervy if Ayr United were to get an early goal. That they'll believe that they have scored 4 against Thistle before, which is a bit nervy. But now I've said it all along. I think we've got the best back 4 in the league, and I think they've been pretty solid. Not apart from the Queen's Park game where they lost 3 goals, but apart from that, they've been really, really good. And when you've got Brian Graham chipping in with a goal, obviously Scott Tiffany, Ross, they're all there, they're on top of form. They've got a really consistent team, which I think has been the success, and I'm sure if they come through that game and they're looking at maybe Ross County or Kilmarnock, I think they'd fancy it. Who was the last There hasn't been a third or a fourth team qualified right through, isn't there not?
What do you mean? I actually won it?
Third or fourth, yeah.
Well, Hamilton
In the
Accies
championship?
Hibs, was it not? Hamilton Accies Hibs?
I don't know if they were third or fourth, but I think they might have been second.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been
It's
a
quite
third
a
or
grueling
fourth.
run to go and do it. It's what, 6 games?
Yeah, but would not Thistle haven't picked up any injuries? There's nobody. There's
Do you
nobody
fancy
injured.
either of them? Would you take
I would.
Kelly or Ross?
I would do.
Who would you favour?
Kilmarnock.
You fancy Kilmarnock?
Yeah, I quite like Ross County. I like the way they play. I like the.
So you would take Kilmarnock to play against other than.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one, isn't it, Ali? Because I thought Kilmarnock played really well last night.
So did I.
Battled away.
And Vassell's a handful.
Yeah. It's a good point, actually, you know. So, but nevertheless, do you think you're coming up to the Premier League?
That'd be fantastic.
No, I didn't say it'd be fantastic. Do you think you're coming up?
Yeah, well, with 7,500 supporters on Friday night, it's a support that's better than at least 3 teams in the Premiership now.
Yeah.
So would be bringing something to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, that's going to be some game. Now, I've got to just quickly type something, because obviously, as you know, like a wee noise up here and there. What about the English Premier League? The English Premier League, Ruffy, at the weekend, there's relegation in the air. And I have to say, I'm looking at it, West Ham, safe, and I hope Everton will be safe. Do you?
Yeah, they're one of the big clubs that bring something to the table as well, and they've been there for so long. They've great tradition, but I mean that doesn't save you some of the times. So it's a lot of money, and we can see, you know, by what happens when you're down there. Managers don't last very long, so the managers themselves will know if they get relegated, they're going to be out of job.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to William Smith, he says, Peter, I think Tam McManus should get an extra 20 points if he does 10 press-ups. Remember, he promised to do 10 press-ups on the show. Didn't quite materialise. I think he won that bet that day. So Everton against Bournemouth. Leeds Tottenham is the other one. And Leicester are at home against West Ham. And interestingly enough, Ruffy, you know what I'm like. I bleat on about Moisey and I've managed to get myself out there to the Europa Conference final to see West Ham win it, hopefully against Fiorentina.
Yeah, I'm just trying to hark back to last week when you told me where that final was going to be played.
Prague.
I know you told me, and they went, why would they take that game to Prague? These supporters are never going to get a ticket there.
Yeah.
And you've got to.
Well, that's just that's the nature of it.
Fancy gets you anywhere.
Wow, you nearly choked me there. Anyway, can't wait, Ruffy.
Oh, it'll be fantastic.
Great to see them. If they could win, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
That'll be wonderful. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely superb. Anyway, the quiz. Here's a question. Last year, Dundee United were relegated from the Scottish Premiership. Do you remember?
2015?
2016. Oh. Yeah, you were close. No point in asking Ruffy because he heard us in there. Don't forget, we'll have a build-up to the Scottish Cup final as well with a Scottish Cup final special show. Will you be back for that?
No, I'll be watching. By the pool.
In the rain.
Well, an umbrella.
The thunder and lightning. And thanks to Kaiser, who says, come on Fiorentina. I mean, honestly, he's a Scottish manager, Kaiser, come on. Anyway, thank you very much to every one of you. We always say on the programme, we're absolutely delighted with the support. The world is a changing place, and every now and then I do try and mention to people on our feed, and this, of course, across podcasts, and people who actually do listen to it, whether it be the Fishman or anyone else. We're unbiased, certainly uncensored and unmatched right across. We give you 24/7 football, and you'll get an opinion on the programme. Sometimes people have got what I call selective hearing, but we always say, come and join the football family. There are big signings on the way in the summer. We hope that you're going to join us for the new season as well, because there's lots more that we're going to try and do to take PLZ soccer onto another level again. And when those signings come on, hopefully you will consume more and more of our content, as you have been doing this year. So thank you very much to each and every one of you for your support. If your friends are there, pass it on to them, get them to hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell, and over and above that you'll get all the unique content on our app if you download it, PLZ Soccer. So With that in mind, on a summery day like today, Ali, you have grafted, by the way, for the entire season. You know,
I have.
You can see the finish line now. All you need to do is dip for the tape and get on that beach. Is that fair?
Yes.
Can't
Just
wait.
never mind the beach. Just where's this vat of wine?
Absolutely. And as my mother used to say, everything in moderation, Ali. Everything in moderation. Thanks to Ruffy. You've been fantastic. Are you still with us for another couple of days?
Yes, I'll be here tomorrow, yes.
Well, there you are then. Another shift. Who'd have thought? Thanks to Ruffy and Alison, from myself, Peter Martin, and to you for sticking by us and showing your support. We'll see you tomorrow.